There are mysteries that whisper through the ages, relics so powerful that even time dares not erase them. Among them, none shines brighter than the Ark of the Covenant, a golden chest said to hold the voice of God Himself. For 3,000 years, kings, priests, and conquerors have searched for it, yet the Ark remains hidden, guarded, perhaps, not by walls or sand, but by destiny itself. Imagine it, a chest of acacia wood covered inside and out with pure gold, topped by 2 golden cherubim whose wings touch at the center, between them, a space called the mercy seat. And from that space, the ancients said, divine light would appear, a brilliance so intense that even the high priest dared not gaze upon it. The Ark was no mere symbol, it was said to be alive, it spoke, it burned, it judged, it blessed. But where did it come from? The story begins on a mountain trembling with fire and smoke, Mount Sinai. There, Moses stood before the presence of the Almighty. Thunder rolled like the heartbeat of creation, and amid that storm, the law was given, 2 tablets of stone, carved by the finger of God. Yet such power could not remain unguarded. So God commanded Moses to build a vessel worthy of the covenant, a throne upon which divine presence could dwell among humankind. Make an ark of acacia wood, said the voice, overlay it with pure gold, inside and out, make for it a crown of gold around about. Every measure, every detail, was sacred, nothing left to chance. It was not a relic, it was a relationship, sealed in craftsmanship and fire. When the ark was finished, the people gathered in awe. Moses placed within it the tablets of the law, the rod of Aaron that blossomed, and a pot of manna, the bread of heaven. Then the ark was carried into the heart of the tabernacle, hidden behind a veil so thick that only one man could pass beyond it, and only once a year. The air shimmered with energy, a cloud descended, light filled the chamber. The people outside fell on their faces, for they knew, the presence of God had entered the ark. From that moment, it led them through wilderness and war. Whenever the camp moved, priests lifted the ark by its poles and went before the people. When they reached the Jordan River, the waters stopped flowing. When they circled Jericho 7 times, its mighty walls collapsed to dust. Wherever the ark went, the impossible became possible, victory and terror followed in its wake. But the ark was not a weapon, it was a covenant. Those who approached it without reverence paid a terrible price. When the Philistines captured it, their idols shattered, their people fell sick, and their cities begged for mercy. They sent the ark back on a cart drawn by oxen, trembling with fear, leaving offerings of gold to appease whatever force they had angered. When the ark returned to Israel, it rested for a time in the house of Abinadab, yet even there its power remained unpredictable. Later, when King David brought it to Jerusalem, the procession was filled with music and joy, until one man, Uzzah, reached out to steady it, and fell dead the moment his hand touched the gold. David stopped the journey, terrified. He left the ark in the home of Obed-Edom, and there, miracles began to unfold, the crops flourished, children were born, peace filled the household. After 3 months, David dared to try again. This time, he approached with sacrifice and humility, he danced before the ark as it entered the city. The people shouted, trumpets sounded, and Jerusalem became the city of the divine. Yet even then, no one forgot, the ark was dangerous to those who treated it as common. When Solomon became king, he built the great temple, walls of stone and cedar, overlaid with gold that gleamed like sunlight. In its innermost chamber, the Holy of Holies, the ark was placed at last. When the priests withdrew, a cloud filled the temple, thick and luminous, the glory of the Lord descended so that none could stand to minister. Fire fell upon the altar, the sound of thunder shook the earth. The ark had found its resting place, heaven and earth united once more. But nothing built by human hands lasts forever. Time passed, kings turned away from righteousness, idols filled the land. Prophets warned that judgment would come, and it did. Babylon marched against Jerusalem, the temple was set ablaze, and the Ark of the Covenant vanished. No scripture tells where it went, no chronicler records its fate. It disappeared into silence, leaving behind only echoes and fear. Some said it was taken by priests into hidden tunnels beneath the temple, others whispered that angels carried it into heaven itself. One prophecy said that Jeremiah, warned by God, hid it in a cave upon Mount Nebo, where it would rest until the world was made pure again. Whatever the truth, from that day, humanity entered an age without presence, the Holy of Holies stood empty, the light of Shekinah gone. Yet the longing for that light has never faded. And so the question endures, where is the Ark now? Some claim it was destroyed, others believe it sleeps beneath the sands of Egypt or deep within Ethiopian mountains. But maybe the Ark was never meant to be found by force. Maybe it hides not in the earth, but in memory, in the yearning of the soul to feel again the fire that once walked among men. Because the Ark is not only history, it is invitation. A call to remember what humanity once shared with the divine. The covenant is not broken, only forgotten, waiting, like the Ark itself, for those who still listen for thunder in the silence. After the Ark vanished from Jerusalem, a silence settled over Israel, a silence heavy with loss and wonder. The second temple was built, but when the priests stepped into the Holy of Holies, there was no Ark waiting for them. The chamber was empty, the stone foundation alone remained. The fire that once filled the temple with divine radiance never returned. Some said the covenant was broken, others whispered that the presence of God had simply withdrawn from the world. Yet, legends have a way of surviving, carried like embers through centuries of darkness. Some said the Ark was taken to Babylon, others claimed it was smuggled south into Egypt before the invaders arrived. Among those tales, one would rise above all others, the story of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, and the child who would change the fate of the Ark forever. According to the ancient Ethiopian text Kabra Nagast, the Queen of Sheba visited King Solomon in Jerusalem. She was fascinated by his wisdom, by the splendor of his temple, by the mystery of the Ark itself. Their meeting was more than diplomatic, it was divine destiny. She returned to her land bearing a son, Menelik, who would one day journey back to meet his father. When Menelik reached Jerusalem, Solomon recognized him as his own, he taught him the ways of Israel, the law, the covenant. But when Menelik returned home, something extraordinary happened, the Ark went with him. Some say angels commanded its removal, others say priests loyal to Menelik stole it at night. Either way, the Ark was gone, and Solomon's heart broke with both grief and awe. For he realized what his wisdom could not foresee, that God himself had willed it. Menelik carried the Ark to Ethiopia, where, according to legend, it still resides today. Deep within the ancient city of Aksum, in a small chapel called the Chapel of the Tablet, the Ark is said to rest behind heavy curtains. Only one guardian monk is allowed to see it, he never leaves the sanctuary until his death. A successor is chosen, and the cycle continues, generation after generation of silent watchmen guarding the holiest object on earth. Witnesses claim strange things happen near that chapel, a light that glows through the walls at night, thunder with no storm, a vibration in the air that makes the ground hum softly beneath your feet. Pilgrims have fallen to their knees without knowing why, travelers report their cameras failing, their compasses spinning, their bodies trembling as though standing near something alive. Could these be traces of the Ark's energy, still pulsing after thousands of years? Ethiopian priests say every church in their land contains a replica of the Ark, called a tablet, but only one is the original. They claim it is the heart of their nation, the reason Ethiopia never fell under foreign rule for long, divine protection resting within their borders. Western scholars have long doubted the story, yet none have been allowed to enter the chapel. The guardian's eyes are said to glow faintly, his skin marked by burns from light that mortals cannot endure. Some call it superstition, others call it proof. Whatever truth lies within those walls, it remains sealed, guarded not just by monks, but by time itself. Still, the Ark's trail does not end there. Another legend tells that when Pharaoh Shishak invaded Jerusalem, he carried away temple treasures, including the Arkansas. Ancient inscriptions in Egypt describe sacred chests lined with gold, carried in processions for the gods. One, discovered in Tanis, looked eerily similar to the biblical description: golden handles, winged figures, inscriptions of power. Archaeologists dismissed it as coincidence, but the resemblance haunts the imagination. Perhaps the Ark inspired Egypt's own relics, or perhaps Egypt inspired the Arkansas. Both civilizations revered divine light, both built temples to house the unseen. Maybe the Ark was not a single artifact, but a sacred technology known to the ancients, a device linking heaven and earth through resonance, metal, and intention. As centuries passed, new guardians rose. During the Crusades, the Knights Templar established their fortress upon the ruins of Solomon's Temple. They excavated beneath the mount, uncovering tunnels that stretched deep into the bedrock. What they found there remains one of history's most enduring mysteries. Some say they discovered scrolls, relics, and the Ark itself, that they carried it to Europe for safekeeping. When the Templars were later destroyed by the French crown, their secrets vanished with them. But whispers persisted: the Ark hidden in Chartres Cathedral, or in the Rosslyn Chapel of Scotland, or buried in the hills of France alongside the Grail. Could it be that the Grail legends, which speak of a vessel containing divine light, were born from the memory of the Ark? Both represented the same truth: the presence of God contained in a form mortals could approach. Through each of these stories, one theme endures: the Ark cannot be owned, only served. Every empire that sought to wield it fell, every hand that grasped it in pride was destroyed. The Philistines suffered plagues, Uzzah fell dead, kings were humbled. The Ark punishes those who treat it as a weapon, it rewards those who honor it as a covenant. And yet, it always reappears, sometimes in fire, sometimes in light, sometimes in dreams. Perhaps that is the true nature of the Ark: it reveals itself only to those whose hearts are ready to understand it. But what if its power was not divine alone? What if the Ark functioned as an ancient machine? Its design, wood overlaid with gold inside and out, matches the pattern of an electrical condenser. Some believe it generated intense static energy, enough to shock or kill. The cherubim on top may have acted as electrodes, the poles as conductors. Was the presence of God, then, the language of plasma and light? Accounts of the Ark's movement describe thunder, fire, and cloud, phenomena that today we might call electromagnetic. Priests carried it wearing linen garments, perhaps to ground the charge and survive the radiation. Even its miracles fit such logic: the walls of Jericho falling as if from sonic vibration, the ground trembling under invisible waves. Yet, such reasoning only deepens the mystery. If ancient priests wielded such technology, where did it come from? Did they inherit it from a lost civilization? Or did it truly descend from the heavens, as the scriptures say, a gift from divine intelligence to guide humankind? The answer may lie not in science or faith alone, but in the space between them, the same space that existed between the cherubim, where voice and light met. Some believe the Ark was not destroyed but taken away, lifted into another dimension. Revelation speaks of the Ark seen in heaven, lightning, thunder, and earthquakes following its appearance. Could it be that the Ark was never meant to remain on earth forever, that it served its purpose, then returned to its origin? If so, what was its purpose? Was it judgment or mercy? Weapon or sanctuary? Perhaps both, a reminder that creation itself contains both beauty and danger. The ark mirrored humanity, capable of holiness or destruction depending on how it was held. Even now, the legend endures because it reflects our deepest longing, proof that the divine once touched the world, and might again. Every explorer who searches for it is not chasing gold, they are chasing connection, to God, to meaning, to the possibility that heaven once had a shape. The ark may be hidden, but its story is alive, and stories, unlike relics, never decay. They evolve, they adapt, they wait for someone to listen. The Ark of the Covenant was said to be alive, a vessel that pulsed with divine will, a bridge between mortal and immortal realms. When the prophets wrote of it, they described lightning, fire, smoke, and sound that could shake the ground. To ancient eyes, it was the throne of God. To modern minds, it sounds like something beyond religion, a technology of impossible power. Imagine the priests preparing to move it, bathing, purifying themselves, dressing in linen that would not conduct electricity. They would lift the ark by its poles, never touching it directly. The moment it moved, the air trembled. Some witnesses spoke of a humming sound, a vibration like thunder trapped in a box. Perhaps they did not understand what they were hearing, but they felt it. They felt power that could kill or bless with a single breath. Was it faith that made the ark glow, or was it energy? Gold on the outside, gold on the inside, separated by acacia wood, a perfect design for a capacitor. Two cherubim on top, wings facing inward, forming an empty space where current could leap. Inside, the stone tablets, crystalline, perhaps conductive, absorbing charge and radiating force. When Moses entered the tent and heard God's voice, was it spiritual or technological resonance? The desert around them would have crackled with static, dust and dry air building charge until it snapped in arcs of light. The ark may have amplified that force, drawing energy from the earth itself. Or perhaps, as mystics believe, it drew from another plane entirely, a doorway between dimensions disguised as an object of worship. Some say the ark emitted a low-frequency sound, the same tone used to bring down walls at Jericho, the same resonance that carved stones in ancient temples. Archaeologists have long noted how ancient structures across the world hum at precise frequencies, Egypt, Mesopotamia, even Stonehenge. Could it be that civilizations once shared a single understanding, that sound, vibration, and divinity were all one and the same? If the ark was part of that ancient knowledge, then its disappearance marks more than loss of an artifact, it marks the moment humanity forgot how to speak the language of the cosmos. But stories of the ark did not end with Babylon or Ethiopia, they spread across the world like whispers of forbidden memory. When the Romans destroyed the Second Temple in 70 AD, rumors claimed the ark had already been moved. The historian Josephus wrote that sacred relics were hidden in secret chambers, beyond the reach of conquerors. Roman generals scoured the ruins, none found the Arkansas. Some claimed it was taken to Rome, others said it vanished in the chaos, hidden by priests who died without revealing its location. Centuries later, Jewish mystics in Spain spoke of dreams in which the ark rested beneath the Temple Mount, guarded by angels of fire. They described it surrounded by light that spoke without words. One rabbi claimed he saw it in a vision, hovering between worlds, too bright for human eyes, yet waiting to be found when the world was ready to believe again. And then came the Crusades. Knights in white cloaks marched into Jerusalem, driven by zeal and curiosity alike. Among them, the Templars dug beneath the temple ruins, not for gold, but for knowledge. When they returned to Europe, they were changed men, their eyes spoke of things they could not describe. Within a few decades, the order became the most powerful in Christendom. Kings borrowed from them, popes feared them, legends surrounded them. Some said the Templars had found the ark, that it gave them power to command empires. Others believed they found records, maps, and relics pointing to truths long hidden by time. When the order was betrayed and destroyed, their secrets vanished, but the myth endured. From Scotland to France to Ethiopia, tales connect the Templars to the Ark, as if every nation holds a fragment of the same forgotten puzzle. Even in modern times, explorers have searched for it. In 1909, a team claimed to discover sealed chambers under Jerusalem. In the 1980s, an American explorer named Ron Wyatt said he found the Ark buried beneath the very site of the crucifixion. He described a golden chest in a cavern, blood dripping from cracks above onto the mercy seat. He believed it was divine design, the blood of the new covenant falling upon the Ark of the Old. Skeptics called it fantasy, believers saw prophecy fulfilled. But what if these stories all point to something deeper? Perhaps the Ark is not in one place because it was never meant to remain fixed. Maybe it moves through time as much as space, appearing in one age, vanishing in another, always reminding humanity that the sacred cannot be contained. When Scripture says the Ark went before the people and the cloud of glory followed, perhaps it describes not a physical march but a metaphysical one. The Ark may represent consciousness itself, a vessel through which divine awareness enters the world. If that sounds abstract, consider this: the Ark held the Word of God, written on stone. In every culture, the Word is not mere speech, it is vibration, frequency, the sound of creation. The Ark, then, was a resonator of the divine Word, a machine that amplified the voice of the universe. To open it without understanding that harmony would be suicide, to align with it would be transcendence. In this way, the Ark becomes more than history, it becomes a mirror. It shows us what happens when humanity encounters power beyond comprehension. Some see faith, others see science, but perhaps the truth is both. The ancients did not separate the two, they built temples that sang, altars that glowed, objects that connected the human heart to the infinite. Maybe the Ark is the last surviving artifact of that forgotten unity. Maybe that is why it had to disappear, so that mankind would learn to seek its power within, not without. Still, the earth remembers. From the deserts of Sinai to the mountains of Ethiopia, to the tunnels beneath Jerusalem, there are echoes, subtle magnetic fields, unexplained anomalies, artifacts of gold and stone whispering the same name. And when storms break over the Temple Mount, lightning still strikes the same point again and again, as if drawn to something buried deep below. Priests who walk the site at night sometimes speak of humming sounds under the stone, faint but rhythmic, like a heartbeat. Could that be coincidence, or could it be the Ark, still alive, waiting? If the Ark truly rests beneath the Temple Mount, it is the one secret that unites every faith and divides them at the same time. Jews await its return to restore the Temple, Christians see it as fulfilled in the heavenly covenant, Muslims revere it as a vessel of peace. Perhaps all are correct, and each holds one key to the mystery. Because the Ark is more than relic, it is symbol of divine order, of unity lost and promised again. It tells us that light can dwell within matter, that eternity can hide inside a box, and that the infinite once trusted humanity with its secret. When you look at the world today, at war, greed, and disbelief, you might wonder if we could ever hold such a thing again. Maybe that's why it remains hidden, because the covenant still waits for those who remember its meaning. For centuries, men have searched deserts, mountains, and temples for the Ark of the Covenant, yet it remains silent, untouchable, like a dream that refuses to wake. Kings have sent armies, priests have prayed, and explorers have vanished, all chasing a golden chest that may no longer exist in this world at all. But every time the world forgets, something happens, a vision, a rumor, a sign that reminds us the covenant is not gone, only hidden. In Ethiopia, the guardians still keep their vow. One man watches over the Ark until his death, and another takes his place. He never leaves the sanctuary, never speaks its name, his entire life devoted to guarding what cannot be seen. Some say the air around the chapel vibrates softly, as if the ark itself breathes. The monks' eyes sometimes shine faintly in the dark, the villagers whisper that no one can look upon the ark and remain unchanged. Those who tried, even from afar, have felt strange effects, heat on the skin, buzzing in the bones, dizziness that fades only when they retreat. Scientists call it suggestion, believers call it holiness. Somewhere between lies the truth, a truth humanity still cannot name. But what if the ark's disappearance was never about hiding, but transformation? The Bible says that when Solomon dedicated the temple, the glory of the Lord filled it like fire. That same word, glory, kavod, can also mean energy, weight, radiance. Could the ark have been a vessel not just of law, but of divine energy itself? Energy that shifts form when misused, energy that moves when the world no longer deserves it. Perhaps when the temple fell, the ark dissolved into light, returning to the dimension from which it came. Many mystics believe it still exists, but not as gold and wood. They say the ark is now woven into the fabric of the world, hidden in vibration, in sound, in the heartbeat of creation. Every time thunder rolls or lightning tears open the sky, they say it echoes the old covenant, the voice of God still speaking through nature itself. Ancient texts tell us that when the ark moved, storms followed, clouds gathered, and the people trembled. In that image lies a clue. Maybe the ark was never only a relic, maybe it was a key, an instrument that tuned human consciousness to divine frequency. When it vanished, humanity lost that harmony, our prayers became whispers in static, our temples only echoes. But legends say the ark will return at the end of days, when the nations are gathered and the world stands at the edge of renewal. The prophet Jeremiah wrote that in that time, no one will ask, "Where is the ark of the covenant?" because the presence of God will fill all hearts instead. The covenant will no longer rest in one place, it will live within every soul that remembers the law of love. Still, the human heart cannot stop searching for something tangible. Even now, expeditions continue. Radar scans of the Temple Mount reveal strange voids deep beneath the surface, unexplored chambers sealed by time. In the mountains near Qumran, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, explorers have uncovered passages carved by hand thousands of years ago, some filled with sand, others leading nowhere, perhaps collapsed tunnels that once carried priests bearing the ark into hiding. Could it still lie buried beneath the stones of Jerusalem, just beyond our reach? And if it were found, would we even recognize it? The ark of ancient days may no longer be safe to touch, its radiance could blind or burn those unprepared. Maybe that is why heaven keeps it hidden, not from curiosity, but from danger. Because the ark has always been a paradox, mercy and judgment in the same breath, creation and destruction in the same light. When Israel obeyed, the ark was protection, when they rebelled, it was wrath. It reflected the hearts of those who carried it, holy to the pure, deadly to the proud. It is said the ark carried the presence of God, but perhaps the truth is deeper, the ark revealed what was already within the human soul. That is why every story of the ark ends with transformation. Those who touched it were never the same. Those who sought it were changed by the search itself. It demands reverence, not possession. The covenant cannot be owned, it can only be remembered. Think about the generations that lived and died with this legend, from Moses to Solomon, from Jeremiah to the Templars, from explorers to modern seekers. All of them searching for one thing, proof that the divine once walked with humankind. Maybe the ark endures because it fulfills that longing, the hope that the world is more than dust and chance, that the sacred still breathes behind the veil. And perhaps the ark's story was never meant to end in discovery, perhaps it continues precisely because it is hidden. Mystery keeps faith alive, certainty would destroy it. The ark, in its silence, teaches humility, in its absence, it teaches belief. Still, there are moments, rare, fleeting, when the world feels charged, when the air vibrates, when the sky flashes, and something deep within remembers. In those moments, maybe the ark is not lost at all. Maybe it stands invisible among us, waiting for hearts pure enough to hear it speak again. Because the covenant was never about a box of gold, it was about the bridge between heaven and earth, the spark that binds the Creator to creation. The ark was the sign of that bridge, we are the continuation of it. If the ark could speak now, perhaps it would not reveal its hiding place, perhaps it would simply ask, do you still remember the promise? Do you still carry the law within you? Do you still seek light as your ancestors did beneath thunder and fire? And if we could answer yes, if humanity could remember its covenant, then maybe the ark would return, not as an object, but as a presence. Until that day, its legend endures, a riddle written in gold and silence, a whisper from eternity reminding us that somewhere beyond our reach, divine power still watches, still waits, still calls. The Ark of the Covenant is more than a relic, it is a mirror reflecting every generation's hunger for meaning. It reveals what kind of people we are by the way we search for it. Some chase it for power, hoping to command the forces of heaven, others seek it for proof, desperate to confirm that God once walked among us. But a few, very few, seek it for understanding, not to hold its power, but to know its purpose. In the ancient days, the ark's presence decided battles, but maybe those wars were never about land or kingship, they were about belief. Whoever carried the ark carried the favor of heaven. Armies marched not for gold, but for divine approval, and when they lost that favor, even the mightiest fell. The ark was never just an artifact, it was the measure of faith itself. When the Israelites crossed the Jordan River, the priest stepped into the current carrying the ark, and the waters stopped. The river bent to their faith, nature itself bowed before the covenant. That moment has echoed through time, humanity forever trying to recapture that instant when heaven and earth seemed to move as one. But as faith waned, the ark became myth, then symbol, then legend. Scholars argue over whether it ever existed at all. Some claim it was a poetic metaphor, an image of divine presence rather than a physical object. Others insist it was real, buried somewhere under layers of forgotten stone. Yet neither side can let it go. Even skeptics whisper its name, because deep down, everyone senses that some truths refuse to die. Across continents, echoes of the ark's story reappear. In Africa, tribes speak of a shining chest that came from the stars. In India, texts describe a divine box that emits light and sound. In South America, legends tell of golden arks used by sky gods. Could it be coincidence, or fragments of a forgotten truth? Perhaps the ark was not unique, but one of many vessels through which the divine interacted with ancient humanity. Each culture may have called it something different, yet all described the same phenomenon: light that speaks, sound that creates, energy that transforms. This connection reaches even deeper. In Egypt, priests carried sacred barks, golden chests mounted on poles, paraded during festivals. These too were said to contain divine essence, too holy to touch. In Mesopotamia, the god Marduk was carried in a box veiled from mortal eyes. In Greece, the chest of Cybele held the sacred stones of her worship. The pattern repeats, civilization after civilization, as if some ancient memory persisted in the collective soul of mankind. If all these stories share a single root, then the Ark of the Covenant is not just the story of one people, it is the story of humanity's first encounter with the divine. And perhaps, the last. Imagine standing before the Ark, its gold reflecting the firelight, its cherubim gleaming like living beings. The air would tremble, soundless yet deafening, as if the universe itself was breathing through the box. What would you feel? Fear? Awe? Peace? Maybe all at once. Because the ark did not separate heaven from earth, it united them. It showed that holiness could dwell within material form, that infinite power could rest within something human hands had built. That truth terrified and inspired in equal measure. Some men tried to harness it, others to hide it, and some to destroy it. But the ark cannot be owned, it can only be revealed. It appears only when the world is ready, or when the world forgets too much. Throughout history, every great civilization has a story of something sacred that disappears at the height of its glory. The Egyptians lost the secrets of their pyramids, the Mayans lost their calendars, Israel lost its Arkansas. Perhaps this is no accident, perhaps the universe itself withdraws its mysteries when humanity grows arrogant. Knowledge without wisdom leads only to ruin. Even today, we repeat the pattern. We search for divine power in machines, in energy, in code, trying to recreate what the ark once represented. But technology without reverence becomes emptiness, progress without spirit becomes destruction. The ark reminds us that power must serve purpose, not pride. In this sense, maybe the ark never left at all. Maybe it changed form, existing now not in gold and wood, but in the potential within each of us. The covenant was always between God and humankind, not God and an object. When we live in harmony, when we remember that creation itself is sacred, we become the ark, carriers of divine light. But humanity forgets easily. So the legend lingers, waiting like a reflection beneath still water. From time to time, it rises again, through a discovery, a dream, or a revelation that shakes the world. Every few generations, someone claims to have seen it, always briefly, always just enough to awaken curiosity. Then it fades again, retreating into myth. Perhaps this cycle is intentional. The ark appears not to end faith, but to renew it, not to give answers, but to provoke questions. Because questions lead us closer to truth, while certainty blinds us. The ark, in its silence, is the perfect teacher, it shows without speaking, it warns without punishing, it waits without moving. If someday it were found, what would happen? Would the world unite in awe, or fight over it again? Would we see it as sacred, or exploit it for power? Would we kneel in worship, or cut it open in a laboratory? The answer to that question may explain why it remains hidden. There are whispers among monks and mystics that when humanity reaches a turning point, when the balance between faith and reason is restored, the ark will reveal itself again. But it will not be discovered by force, it will be found by grace. Maybe the true ark is not under the Temple Mount, or in Ethiopia, or lost in Egyptian sands. Maybe it waits where it has always been, in the heart of creation itself, where sound becomes light and thought becomes form. And perhaps that is why every time thunder rolls, something inside us stirs, why every flash of lightning feels like a memory, why every golden glow reminds us of something ancient and holy that once walked beside us. Because deep within the collective memory of humankind, we remember the ark, not as a box of gold, but as a bridge. The bridge between what we are and what we could be. There is a strange thing about the ark, it disappears every time mankind grows too proud, and it reappears every time we begin to lose hope. It's almost as if it responds not to discovery, but to the condition of the human soul. Perhaps the ark does not want to be found by the curious, perhaps it wants to be remembered by the faithful. For thousands of years, its legend has moved like a shadow across history, appearing in dreams, paintings, songs, and prophecies. Artists depict it blazing with fire, poets describe it whispering with wind, prophets see it hovering above the earth, glowing like a star fallen from heaven. The ark is everywhere, and nowhere. Its story transcends religion, it has become the story of every human being who has ever searched for meaning. When you listen to the old scriptures, you can feel how powerful that search once was. The Israelites didn't carry the ark just to win battles, they carried it because they needed to believe that God was with them. In the wilderness, in hunger, in fear, the ark was proof that the divine walked among them. When it vanished, that certainty vanished too. Humanity has been looking for it ever since. But maybe the ark's disappearance wasn't punishment, it was preparation. When people depended on the ark to feel close to God, they forgot that the covenant wasn't about the box, it was about their hearts. So perhaps the ark was taken away so that we would learn to carry the covenant within ourselves, not behind a veil, but inside our own spirit. Still, the idea of the ark calls to us because it feels unfinished. There's a tension in the story, a sense that it was never meant to end with loss. Even Revelation speaks of the ark appearing again in heaven, lightning flashing, thunder echoing, the earth trembling as divine presence returns. That vision could be symbolic, but symbols often hide truths that words cannot contain. If the ark truly does reappear one day, what would it look like? Would it still be gold and wood? Or would it appear as light, pure, radiant, shifting form to match the eyes that see it? Perhaps it would appear differently to each soul, because the ark, after all, is a mirror of faith. To the fearful, it would be terrifying, to the humble, it would be beautiful. Mystics have long said that divine things adapt to the heart that beholds them. If that is true, then the ark is not an object but an experience, an encounter with the infinite dressed in human understanding. And that means anyone who truly seeks it might already have seen it without knowing. Throughout history, many have claimed that moment. Moses on Sinai, blinded by light that spoke, David dancing before a mystery he could not control, Solomon kneeling in a temple filled with fire, prophets collapsing under the weight of vision. Each of them saw a fragment of what the ark truly is, a meeting point between the mortal and the eternal. That same moment still waits for us. Every time a person chooses compassion over cruelty, every time truth triumphs over deception, the covenant lives again. The ark is the echo of that choice, the resonance of divine order vibrating through human will. Maybe that's why the ark story refuses to die. Humanity can forget cities, lose empires, erase entire civilizations, but it cannot forget the promise. Somewhere in our collective memory, we know we once walked with light. Archaeologists will keep searching, they will scan with satellites, dig through tunnels, measure magnetic fields. They might even find something one day, an empty chamber, a fragment of gold, a chest long decayed. But even if they do, will it matter? Because the ark's power was never in its materials, it was in what it represented, the link between heaven and earth, spirit and form, divine will and human hands. The real question isn't where the ark is, it's whether we are ready for what it means. If we found it today, would we treat it with awe or exploitation? Would it unite us or divide us again? The ark's greatest test may not be for those who carried it, but for those who will rediscover it. Think about it, every age that came close to touching the divine also came close to destroying itself. The flood, Babel, Sodom, Babylon, all stories of humanity reaching too high without understanding. The ark is the antidote to that arrogance, a reminder that divine presence is both gift and responsibility. The power it represents is the power of creation itself, the same energy that formed stars and souls. To approach it with pride is to fall as Uzzah did, to approach it with reverence is to live as Moses did, face shining with borrowed light. Somewhere, maybe right now, the ark waits. Not buried, not broken, but hidden in plain sight, disguised as faith, disguised as wonder, disguised as the longing in every human heart that looks up at the night sky and whispers, "Show me you are still here." And perhaps, in that whisper, the ark answers. Maybe that is what the ancients heard when they said God spoke between the cherubim, maybe that voice never stopped. It is the still small voice that speaks through conscience, the thunder that moves through history, the whisper that guides us toward redemption. So when we search for the ark, we are really searching for ourselves. For the part of us that still believes the divine can dwell among mortals, that heaven is not so far away. Because the Ark of the Covenant is more than a myth, it is a memory of what we once were, and a prophecy of what we could be again. Imagine for a moment that tomorrow morning the world wakes to breaking news. Archaeologists beneath Jerusalem have discovered a sealed chamber untouched for millennia. Inside, a golden chest rests between two carved cherubim, its surface uncorroded, its presence overwhelming. The cameras flicker, the lights fail, and those who stand nearest begin to tremble. What happens next? Do we fall to our knees, or do we fight over who owns it? That is the question the Ark has been asking humanity for 3,000 years. It is not merely hidden, it is waiting, watching, testing. Its silence is a mirror that reflects what we have become. And what would it see now? A world racing for power, but starving for meaning. A people building machines that reach the stars, yet forgetting why the stars were made. Perhaps that is why the Ark remains beyond our grasp, it cannot be found by hands that have forgotten reverence. Prophecy says the Ark will return when the covenant is remembered. But the covenant was never about rules carved on stone, it was about relationship, about trust, about harmony between creation and creator. When humanity rediscovers that harmony, the Ark will no longer be a mystery, it will be reality. The veil will lift, and what once seemed distant will stand among us again. Think of the symbolism, the Ark resting beneath two wings, light dwelling between them. Every religion carries echoes of that image, the space between opposites where truth is born. In that space, heaven and earth meet, sound becomes silence, power becomes peace. The Ark is that center point, the heart of all things. Perhaps that is why thunder sounds like a heartbeat, why lightning splits the sky in the shape of wings, why even now, in dreams, people across the world see flashes of gold and hear voices calling from light. The covenant may still be alive, reaching out through time, reminding us that we were once more than dust and shadow. There are stories, quiet, almost forgotten, of people who claim to have seen it. A shepherd in Ethiopia who stumbled into a blinding radiance and awoke with burns on his hands, a monk in Jerusalem who vanished after telling others he had seen a golden chest in vision, an explorer who found carvings in a cave that glowed faintly when touched. Each tale dismissed, yet each hauntingly similar. The Ark does not reveal itself to prove anything, it reveals itself to awaken memory. Maybe that's its real purpose, not to change the world, but to remind the world to change itself. To make us remember that what is sacred was never lost, only forgotten. Think of the irony, humanity searches the earth for the Ark while carrying the covenant inside its own soul. Every act of compassion, every moment of forgiveness, every spark of creation is a reflection of that same divine energy. We don't need to find the Ark to prove God exists, we need to find the Ark within to remember that we do. Yet still, the legend endures, because it carries something eternal, the hope that divine justice and mercy are real. That somewhere, beneath stone or sky, rests a promise waiting to be fulfilled. Every faith, every myth, every prophecy points toward that same moment of reunion between heaven and earth. Perhaps one day, when the world finally grows quiet enough to listen, the Ark will reveal itself, not through excavation, but through revelation. It will not appear as gold and light, but as understanding, a sudden realization that the divine has been here all along, whispering through conscience, singing through stars, breathing through every act of love. Until then, the Ark remains hidden, not because it is lost, but because we are. It waits for us to remember the covenant, to rebuild the temple within our hearts, to become again the people who once walked with light. And when that day comes, when humanity finally learns that holiness cannot be owned, that power must serve love, and that truth cannot be buried, perhaps we will look up to the heavens and realize, the ark never left. It was always here, in the thunder, in the fire, in the silence between heartbeats where eternity speaks. So the story continues, whispered by the wind, guarded by angels, echoed in lightning, and carried by those who still believe. The Ark of the Covenant, history's greatest mystery, faith's deepest symbol, and humanity's oldest promise. And maybe tonight, as you close your eyes and the world grows still, you will hear it too, that faint hum beneath the noise, that pulse of energy older than time. The same pulse that moved mountains, split seas, and spoke to Moses in flame. It is not gone, it is waiting. Waiting for the moment when the covenant awakens again. Because somewhere beneath earth and sky, beneath myth and memory, the Ark of the Covenant still lives, not as a relic, but as a reminder. A reminder that the divine once walked with us, and will again.